Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Open. It is Thursday, April 16th. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. Folks, yesterday was a big day. It was a green day. It was the 11th day of green that we have had since those March 30th lows. And, well, it was important because we hit a lot of key levels on a variety of different indices. The Qs hit all-time highs, and the S&P 500 closed at 7,000. In the pre-markets, we are at SPY 700, which is very, very, very nice to see. The big question today is going to be, can we keep it? And, I think there's a good shot. We got a lot of macro data to discuss. I have a lot of charts and different types of information around the past 12 days, around this like 11, 12-day stretch that I want to go through to kind of help solidify if it's real or if it's not real. Very curious to see how other people are thinking of it. But this is also an important day because it's one of those days where, I woke up in the morning and there's not a ton of war headlines. Like, it's one of the first days I feel like in a couple of weeks where like I wake up and the thing that I'm really focusing on is market news, market fundamentals, AI headlines. We had TSM earnings last night. We'll talk about it. I mean, there's a couple war headlines about just like negotiations and they're progressing. And I think in Islamabad today, you're going to have more intense negotiations. We had some headlines last night that JD Vance said the negotiations are progressing and they have been throughout the entire week, but it's not top of mind. And it's almost like the market is just itching to move on from the war. Obviously, we still need to get a deal in place. The market's already pricing it in like there is a deal. But if we end up getting there, then maybe we do have a chance to move on. Hopefully, all things go in the right direction there for the market to once again focus on fundamentals. We are getting into big tech earnings seasons. Netflix is after the bell today, so that'll be a big one to get into Netflix. But overall, you're seeing a decent amount of green. Robinhood, $90 pre-market. Nice to see. Oracle, new partnership with Amazon. That's up another 3%. 30% from the Friday lows. D-Wave, quantum stocks up another 3%. NVIDIA is actually red, and I think they're red because of TSM. TSM did not have a bad earnings. We'll talk about TSM, but TSM is down 2%. So I think kind of the large-scale mega caps in the chip space are taking a little bit of a hit today because of those earnings, even though I don't think those earnings were bad. But nonetheless, the stocks are down right there. CoreWeave up another 0.31%. You got SoFi that's breaking through 1974. That's up 5%. Incredible. Palantir, what a dip, 122 to 144. That's green. Zeta's up another 3% after being close to 14. That's another 30% move since Friday. ServiceNow up another 4%. Look at ServiceNow almost getting ready to go to 100 after being at 80 on Friday last week. I mean, just massive, massive moves across the board. And so the excitement of this bull market seems to be coming back. And today we're going to talk a lot about if that excitement has the potential to continue gaining its momentum. Rocket Lab up 4.2% in the pre-market. I mean, you're just seeing space, fintech, SaaS, mega caps, mag 7s. You're seeing a lot of crypto names, Coinbase is a lot of these different sectors that are catching a bid. And, today we got to see if it continues. And if it does, that stuff's going to be very exciting for the broader market. That's what we got. Let's get into it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We got a lot to talk about. Someone says, stop yelling at it. I'm not yelling. I'm passionate. I'm not yelling. I am passionate. Someone says happy birthday in the chat. Whose birthday is it? Let's make sure we wish them a happy birthday. And hopefully they get a green day for their birthday. Tess, Benny, what's up? What's up? Brian, Ben, Popcorn Trey, thank you for being here. Lady D7, June, Broccoli Bob. Oh, it's Broccoli's birthday? Is it Broccoli Bob's birthday? I think it is. All right. Happy birthday to Mr. Broccoli Bob. Broccoli Bob's been in the chat since, I think, 2022. OG channel supporter. And it's someone commented on the daily recap the other day, like, Amit, I've been watching you since 1,600 subs and just happy to see the progress. It is really cool and very humbling to kind of see those moments of people that have been there since then. And, now we're all here growing together. So very, very awesome. Happy birthday to you, Broccoli Bob. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully we get a green day to celebrate. And thank you to everybody for being here today. All right, so let's get started. There's a bunch of macro stats that I want to start off with to kind of solidify what has been happening over the past couple of days and give a little bit more legitimacy or potentially question the nature of this bull market. Oh, Jensen also did an interview last night. We've got a couple clips to watch of Mr. Jensen Huang because this was the first contentious interview that he's done ever.
And I think props to the interviewer who really pushed back against some stuff, but also Jensen pushed back against the pushback. And so it was definitely entertaining to see. And I think people have their own sides they take. A lot of people are like, wow, I've never seen Jensen mad like this. I have. I've been to 2 different conferences where he's at. And when someone asks him a stupid question during the press Q&A, like he will call you out and say it's a stupid question. I told you guys the story where one lady, her phone went off and Jensen literally was mid answering a question. And he said, whose phone is that? And he stopped for almost 3 minutes and just stared at everyone in silence. And he was like, we're not going to continue unless everyone turns off their phones. And it was just like, wow, okay. So like, this guy's intense. He's running the world's biggest company. So I think this interview was actually really interesting and important in terms of how he answered a bunch of these questions. So, all right, let's get into it. First off, I think we have to talk about the significance of today. Today's a Thursday, and Thursdays are not good for the stock market in 2026. So take a look at this chart right here. In 2026, Thursdays, if you annualize the return for the S&P 500, we are down 113% for the year. We are down 46.4% for the year on Friday. Mondays actually are our best day, up 91%. So last Thursday, we ended up surviving the Thursday volatility to the downside. Friday is usually a follow-up of that downside on Thursday, but the past Thursday and Friday rebounding from the March 30th lows have been okay. So today's going to be really important just on that perspective, which is that we have a Thursday that we need to escape the historical volatility over the past 4 months of Thursday just not being the best. Now, why was Friday bad last week? It wasn't really because the market actually was relatively green. It was SaaS in particular. So there's always some sector or some part of the market that's been taking a hit on Thursdays, and then Fridays kind of follows up from that sector, even if it's not the entire market. If we can withstand that today, because we had 6 Thursdays in a row before last Thursday where we ended up going slightly green, but it was still a pretty crappy day, then you kind of can tell there's some bull market momentum coming back in a more meaningful way. And that's going to be exciting to see because, again, the number one question on everyone's mind is, can we hold on to this excitement? Now, why is this really important to see if we can hold on to this excitement? Well, the bulls are coming back. Take a look at the top 20 stock options that were traded yesterday, or top 20 stocks that were traded in the options market. You had Tesla, Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, SoFi made it up there, Meta, Robinhood, Amazon, Palantir, lots of your typical names. But the number of contracts that were traded on all of these stocks, roughly, if you take an aggregate percentage of them, was double the daily volume. Tesla usually does around 2.5 million. They did 5.7 million contracts yesterday. And some stocks on the put-call ratio skew had significantly more amount of calls that were traded. It doesn't mean people bought those calls, but it does mean there's more call option than put option. SoFi, in particular, had 500% more calls than puts. And the sort of broad skew was around 2/3, so around 60% of more calls versus puts, which is not too abnormal, but I mean, compared to the past 2 weeks, it is rather abnormal because the past 2 weeks, it was a lot more puts than calls. And now you're starting to see the skew actually widen to calls versus puts. Again, it doesn't mean everyone's buying those calls, but it does mean a lot of option volume is coming back into the market, which is actually very, very good for Hood. And it also shows that there's just more people that are willing to take risks. The other thing that's really important about this is, in particular for SoFi, if people are potentially buying calls at the level that is 5x more of puts, SoFi is getting ready to make a move, or at least the market thinks that SoFi is getting ready to make a move. And this is consistent with the data that we had from Tuesday. U.S. call option volume surged to 47 million contracts a day, the second highest reading this year. Call volume is up 75% since the beginning of the month. And at the same time, put option volume has declined 15% to 32 million contracts per day. So that right there, from an options perspective, is making me think, okay, the bulls are trying to come back. They've already come back from the March 30th lows. Now they're, potentially buying a lot of options, which is a lot more volatility, derivatives, contracts that are being traded, which theoretically, if we get a good earnings cycle and people are, betting on Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia hitting these new levels, which, by the way, all those stocks, massive, massive moves. I mean, if you bought the dip on any Max 7, you've been heavily rewarded. Even Tesla almost at 400 from the 330 lows. Those earnings cycles, or the earnings cycle that we're about to get into, could be really beneficial for these call options that are coming up. Meta almost at 675, or actually at 675 in the pre-market. Microsoft just absolutely ripped. Remember that chart we showed about Microsoft hitting one of the levels? I think it was like the 23 EMA, and the last time it did that was there were 3 times in history. Once was 2023, and then it never touched it. Once was 2013, and then once was March of 2026. Well, it bounced. Historically, it bounced. Historically, it's supposed to bounce. It bounces, and there's multiple years in between it gets you that level again. And in this case, maybe it's going to be another 5-10 years until we see those levels get breached again. Who knows? Maybe this is a dead cat bounce, but if it's not, 350 might not be coming back that quickly, and that's a structural bounce that we're seeing on Microsoft right here. So if you bought the dip on this, congrats. I know Matt Money, good friend of the channel, did buy some of this Microsoft dip. 416, that's up 1.35%. And then Amazon did hit 250. You're at 248. NVIDIA touched 240 or sorry, 200 yesterday, was not able to hold above 200, unfortunately. But hopefully it'll get back there today. And we'll talk about kind of what's going on with TSM earnings, which might be hurting NVIDIA right here. But overall, I mean, incredibly bullish from the lows. And, you know, all these names are starting to get to a new level, which is very exciting. Another stat that I thought was also really interesting right here, RSI, Relative Strength Index. It went from under 30, which is technically or theoretically oversold, to over 70 in 15 days. The only 2 times we've done that before is November 2016. We had a massive rally after that, and August 1982. So the thing that we've seen over the past 11 days is nothing short of truly historic for an RSI to go from 30 to 70 in over 15 days or less. And the other thing that's interesting about that is that fear and greed. I don't think this is I think this is one of the fastest times in history. We went from extreme fear to greed, 2 weeks. And so it's consistent with RSI. Theoretically, you put them together and be like, all right, we were extremely oversold, extreme fear. And now we're not necessarily extremely overbought, but we are definitely approaching potentially that territory. Earnings growth is going to really have to solidify if the valuations can get us to a much higher level. But now we're back in green. And there's a lot of money potentially to be made in the middle of that. So once again, more and more macro data consisting of potentially this rally being a lot more real. A couple other charts that are really important. So take a look at this. The S&P 500 is up 9.8% in 10 days, which is in the 99.7th percentile of all 10-day returns. Since 1950, there have been 20 cases where the stock market has risen this much in 10 days. General conclusion is that these are bullish momentum thrusts. The next 12 months average returns are 19%. So, you know, for everyone saying, well, this is too much too quick, it's like, it might feel like that. But if you go back to 1950, the last 20 times we have had a 10-day return of at least 10%. 12 months later, we are up on average 19%. In fact, in March of 2020, last time that happened, 12 months later, we were up 50%. So it's not necessarily bearish. It might feel like it's a little bit too much and we need to take a breather, which would be very fair to have a little bit of a break, but it is happening. And I think the question for most people now is, okay, if I didn't have a ton of money or if I have a ton of money to deploy, but I haven't done it, do I just buy into this? And I think that's the biggest thing on people's mind. I think if we get into an earnings cycle where these companies go absolutely explosive on their numbers, it's going to be hard if we get a peace deal for the street to be like, well, they need to take a little bit of a break. I mean, of course, the street could find any reason to take them down, but the street just took 2 months to take these stocks down because of this war. Now that that's potentially over and you have good earnings, I mean, Robinhood coming back is such an indicative factor of this bull market as well. People want to buy this stock when they think things are in the right direction. All of that put together is why this is seeming a bit more bullish than not, which is very, very exciting as well. AEHR, the reason that's running is because they got a new deal from a hyperscaler, 14%. This stock has gone absolutely crazy. Small cap AI supply chain name. I think they got a $41 million contract from another hyperscaler for their machines. And as a result, that's why you're seeing that stock right there up 14% as it's getting more excitement. Hollis says, I wouldn't mind a 0.5% down day. I think it would be healthier. Yeah, you know, I think the health stuff is fair, just given the momentum that we've seen. But also, I also think there's this level of coiled up spring to the market, right? This idea that everyone's been waiting and it finally burst out. And now people are just like, the floodgates are open. And sometimes, you know, when the floodgates because remember last year when the floodgates opened in March or in May, I would say, well, technically end of April after Liberation Day, 6 months later is when you got your dip. 6 months later, you had to wait till October 9th for some crypto glitch to happen to actually get a substantial dip. I think you had 1% dip in September, and then, you know, it rebounded the next day like nothing happened. So if we're in that type of position this time, which who knows, it's hard to imagine that we are just because of all the different macro stuff we have to deal with. But if we are, maybe it's not as aggressive as it was last time, but the floodgates might be open. and people might be coming back. And I don't think valuations are crazy euphoric either, which is a good thing. Now, what is crazy euphoric is this nonsense we've been seeing with AI companies that aren't AI companies, but are pivoting to AI companies. So Allbirds, the story of this stock yesterday, they were up 582%, went from $4 to at one point $24. In the pre-market, they're at $15. So they're down substantially from that $24 high because they sold the footwear brand. They raised $50 million in convertible notes and then pivoted to become a AI company. The new name of it is called New Bird AI. It's quite incredible, but there are some people who made a lot of money off it yesterday. After hours on the market close, you had another company do the same thing, MYSE, which is a $6 million market cap company. This is a company that has created a social network with privacy focus as their main sort of core defining feature for their social network. It's called Mysium. They didn't pivot the company or anything. They just pivoted their name legally on the on the SEC filings, and they're now Mysium.ai. Like, they didn't even pivot the Allbirds, at least they got rid of the foot brand and they went straight into AI. These guys aren't doing any pivot. They're just changing the legal name to MYSEUM.ai. And that stock is up 250% in the pre-market. Darren says, I am up 60% on MYSE. I bought last night at close. Well, congratulations. I mean, maybe it pulls an Allbird. I don't know. It's a much smaller company than Allbirds even was when they announced their thing. When you're playing with this stuff, you got to be very careful. But the point is, the fact that these companies are trying to do these pivots, I think is, the valuation part of the market is not scaring me. This stuff is, I wouldn't say scaring me because it's a $6 million company. Even if it became a $1 billion company and went to zero, who would care? Like, it's not that serious. It's not stopping anything. It's just a little weird. You don't really want to see that stuff happening that often. And, it begs the question of what exactly is going on here. And are other companies going to try to take advantage of this to, do what they need to do to kind of get their stock to go up. And on top of that, I mean, unfortunately, another company did that today. So DGNX, I don't know if people saw this. They signed a definitive agreement to acquire an AI company, AI customer intelligence company, for $1.4 billion at $132 a share. That company's at $150 million in revenue. So at least this company is doing a lot of revenue. But this company is it looks like a ESG consulting firm type of company. Essentially, your company works with them and they provide you reports on sustainability. DGenX. Oh my goodness, I just noticed. Yeah, that ticker might actually. I guess it's called DGenX. DGenX. But I mean, it's a D and I. If there was an E there, it would absolutely look like DGenX. But yeah, so they're an ESG sustainability company that I guess is using AI inside of their advisories. And then they acquired an AI company today. So the street's like, oh, 65% up pre-market because there you go. It's more AI. So that part is scary. That part I don't like to see. Now it's up 19%. Now it's not up 65%. So again, this thing pumped up to 150. Now it's back down. This stuff is, you got to be careful with it. But the point is, I think people are getting the playbook that AI is the hot sector. That's what people are attacking. I don't think it really matters as long as the earnings go good, but it's not good to see. And, these companies kind of failing and going back down would be helpful to make sure that there's not that much euphoria. But nonetheless, a little bit more euphoria is coming. And that's kind of what happens in a bull market, right? You kind of can't stop it. But it just can't get out of hand. So that's what you got in terms of the macro updates. It seems like we're getting some good momentum. Jobless claims were fine today as well. We had 207,000 people apply for unemployment. The market expected 218,000. So U.S. jobless claims were not that bad. I mean, we are nowhere near a recession in terms of unemployment. We're just not. Unemployment is not spiking up to the level that would create a recession. Labor market's probably not healthy, but it's not recessionary level. So, you're not having the street react to that in some negative way or would potentially stop the market rally just because of the jobs claims. So I think that's one thing to also keep in mind as we keep going from there. SoFi, yes, that's moving. There's no headline on SoFi. They're just, the stock was down 40% this year. It's moving up. Same thing with, there was never a headline on Robinhood that was that intense. I mean, you have the pattern day trading thing, but you're telling me pattern day trading is why Robinhood went from 60 to 90 in 3 days? No, it's like bull market's back. That helped a little bit. Bitcoin going up helped a little bit, but Bitcoin's also been relatively stable. Bitcoin's not exploding to 80,000. So for SoFi, it was down a lot, right? It was down a lot, and you're starting to see it come back to life. I think the big headline for SoFi could be the banks, right? The banks crushed earnings all across the board. And so maybe that's getting the street to be more excited. hopefully the street's smart enough to think Muddy Waters accusing the company of doing $1 billion in EBITDA as being a fraud is not real. And it is nice to see SoFi getting some love. Reddit is up. This thing was 120. Now you're at 163. I mean, take your pick. A lot of these high beta growth names, they fell hard and they recovered very nicely, which is important to see to keep this momentum continuing. Google in talks with the Pentagon to use Gemini models. Okay, Mr. Googs, which also getting ready to get back to all-time highs. 338 pre-markets. 350 is where this one got to all-time highs. The information reporting Google and Pentagon discuss classified AI deals. Company rebuilds military ties. I mean, if Anthropic's not going to be able to work with them, then someone has to do it. And I guess that's what you get for Mr. Googs. Let me check the rate cut probabilities. Has that budged at all for this year? No, we are still not pricing in a rate cut in 2026. So the fact that we're having this momentum and we're not pricing in a rate cut is also very encouraging because, you know, if we do end up pricing a rate cut, where do things go? That things go probably start going higher, which would be very exciting. HIMS. So there was a ruling yesterday on loosening the restrictions of peptides. Stock was up 13% during the day. It was up 8% after hours. It is still 40% short. If HIMS is going to make the move, it is time to make the move because after the Novo stuff went away, got earnings out of the way, sentiment was at an all-time low at $15. Let me know in the chat if you're long HIMS or if you're buying into this. I mean, it feels like with the short float, the potential for it to run, again, this is only a $5 billion market cap. It used to be at $70 at one moment. It's not like it hasn't had runs before. I wonder if the shorts double down or I wonder if this one kind of calms down itself. But it looks like the peptide news last night was pretty bullish, and that should hopefully be something really good for HIMS to keep gaining their level of excitement as well. Iranian officials have grown frustrated with a plan to generate revenue from shipping in the Strait of Hormuz with little money collected despite expectations of significant income. Iran moved early in the year to control traffic through the Strait and charged tankers about $2 million for transit permits, setting up a committee-led secretary of the Supreme National Security Council. Okay, so the Iranians are upset. That's actually a good thing because that means they need the Strait to be open to make more money. They can't just make money with the small amount of traffic going in by fees because a lot of ships don't want to pay those fees, and that means they're more likely to negotiate on a deal. The big headline yesterday and last night was Vance said that him, Witkoff, and Kushner have been in discussions with the Iranians all week. They haven't had like that formal face-to-face negotiation, but they've been in discussions, which leads me to believe that they're going to come to a negotiation on enrichment. And that enrichment, if it's not 5 years, it's not 20 years, maybe it's 10 or 15, but a deal will get done to the point where they will have sanctions relief, which is what the Iranians care about. The U.S. will get a ton of security that they don't have uranium enrichment. And that's it. I think this thing is over from that perspective. That's what the market's pricing in. That is what the market's pricing in. And that's why I think you're getting a lot more excitement right here. TSM, they crushed earnings. I don't know why the stock is down. Revenue's up 40% year over year, up 6% quarter over quarter. Net profit is up 58% year over year. Gross margins beat by 2%. Operating margins are up 10% year over year. CapEx is up 10%, not too crazy. Net profit margins at 50.5%. I didn't see anything in the TSM numbers that were bad. Not sure why exactly the market isn't too happy about it. I didn't listen to the call. One thing they did say on the call, though, and that's why your memory stocks might be down, is that they said pricing on memory is softer than expected, aka it's not as bad as they thought it would be. So you've got people questioning if the pricing power on the memory names is as strong. Again, I don't think that comment from TSM is enough to stop the memory run, especially just given the level of earnings growth these guys are putting up. But Micron right there down about 2%. SanDisk is down another 1% after being down 5% yesterday, but also these two stocks have had massive runs. So maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. Bloomberg says Meta is boosting the prices of its virtual reality headsets because of rising memory chip costs, adding to an industry-wide wave of recent increases. So that's hilarious. TSM says memory is getting softer, and then Meta potentially is increasing the price of the virtual reality headset because memory is getting higher. So yeah, I wouldn't read too much into what TSM said. It's just the memory names are so volatile based on those headlines, and that's why they're down a little bit right here in the pre-market. ASTS, we interviewed Ann Panman yesterday. He was awesome. ASTS right there, $89. I agree with him that the GSET acquisition should not be enough to get the street to be that bearish on this company. Getting a little bit of a rebound here, up 2.49%. And then Rocket Lab really getting a move, 77. There you go, up 5% in the pre-market. Salesforce up 2%, IGV up 2%. You're seeing SaaS come back, very exciting. Adobe's up 2%, SMR is up 7%, Oklo's up 5%. based on that space nuclear force that the administration talked about a couple days ago. All the quantum names based on the NVIDIA quantum announcements are continuing to go green. I mean, you're seeing a lot of sectors that have not participated in a while start to come back. And that is also why, it feels more bullish than not that a lot of these sectors are coming back into the market and actually playing. Pepsi also at earnings. Pepsi's up 0.61%. I believe Pepsi had a relatively strong earnings. They beat on revenue by 4% or by 3% and EPS by 4%. So Pepsi double beat. Also Schwab at earnings. They beat by 3% on EPS and they missed on revenue ever so slightly. Revenue's up 16% year over year. EPS is up 38% year over year. We'll take a look at Schwab's trading metrics later and we can use that to kind of compare what's going to happen with Robinhood. But overall, companies are putting up earnings. Companies are putting up earnings. And one company that's really putting up earnings is NVIDIA. And I think Jensen's a little concerned that the street's not respecting it that much, but he's also concerned about the sustainability of those earnings, which is why when he was asked on a podcast, a very long sort of 30, 40-minute discussion around China and why NVIDIA is selling chips to China. I mean, it's very interesting that that was kind of the central focus of the contention the interviewer had with Jensen here. This is what he had to say about what's going on with China.
And if they don't have enough money, we even invest in them. The United States ought to be ahead. We want to do everything we can to make sure the United States is ahead. Number one point. Do you agree? And we're doing everything we can to do that.
But how is shipping chips to China keeping the U.S. ahead?
No.
If they're bottlenecked on compute?
We got Vera Rubin for United States. We have Vera Rubin for United States. Now, United States. Am I in United States? Do you consider me part of the United States?
Yes.
NVIDIA. You consider NVIDIA a United States company. Okay. Number one. Why is it that we don't come up with a regulation that's more balanced so that NVIDIA can win around the world instead of giving up the world? Why would you want United States to give up the world? The chip industry is part of the American ecosystem. It's part of American technology leadership. It's part of the AI ecosystem. It's part of AI leadership. Why is it that your policy, your philosophy leads to United States giving up a vast part of the world's market?
The claim here is, Dario had this quote where he said, it's like Boeing bragging that we're selling North Korea nukes, but the missile casings are made by Boeing. And that's somehow enabling the US technology stack. Like fundamentally, you're giving them this capability.
Comparing AI to anything that you just mentioned is lunacy.
But AI is similar to enriched uranium, right? And then it can have positive uses, it can have negative uses. We still don't want to send enriched uranium to other countries.
Who's sending enriched?
The analogy here is enriched uranium is
because
like
it's a lousy analogy. It's an illogical analogy.
But if that compute can run a model that can do zero-day exploits against all American software, how is that not a weapon?
First of all, the way to solve that problem is to have dialogues with the researchers and dialogues with China and dialogues with other countries to make sure that people don't use technology in that way. That's a dialogue that has to happen. Okay. Number one. Number two, we also need to make sure the United States is ahead. Everything that Vera Rubin, Blackwell is available in the United States in abundance. Mounds of it, obviously, our results would show it. Abundance, tons of it. The amount of computing we have is great. We have amazing AI researchers here. It's great. We ought to stay ahead. However, we also have to recognize that AI is not just a model, that AI is a 5-layer cake, that AI industry matters across every single layer. And we want the United States to win at every single layer, including the chip layer. And conceding the entire market is not going to allow the United States to win the technology race long-term in the chip layer, in the computing stack. That is just a fact.
I guess then the crux comes down to, how does selling them chips now help us win in the long term? Like Tesla sold extremely good electric vehicles to China for a long time. iPhones are sold in China extremely good. They didn't cost them lock-in. China will still make their version of EVs and they're dominating, or smartphones are dominating.
When we started the conversation today, you would acknowledge, and you acknowledged, that NVIDIA's position is very different. You use words like moat. The single most important thing to our company is our richness of our ecosystem, which is about developers. 50% of the AI developers are in China. The United States should not give that up.
But we have a lot of NVIDIA developers in the US, and that doesn't prevent American labs from also being able to use other accelerators in the future. In fact, right now, they're using other accelerators as well, which is fine and great. I don't see why that wouldn't be the case in China as well. If you sell them NVIDIA chips, just the same way that Google can use TPUs and NVIDIA.
We have to keep innovating. And, as you probably know, our share is growing, not decreasing. The premise that even if we competed in China, that we're going to lose that market anyways. You're not talking to somebody who woke up a loser. And that loser attitude, that loser premise makes no sense to me. We're not a car. We are not a car. The fact that I can buy this car brand one day and use another car brand another day, easy. Computing is not like that.
So as you can see, Jensen went off. And it was pretty cool to kind of see him get into that zone because he's never been kind of questioned in this way. AMD getting a 2% move right here. I see no headline on AMD other than an upgrade this morning to 265. But there you go. AMD very close to all-time highs. I do not see the headline yet. I feel like there should be a headline. This doesn't look like an upgrade move, especially because it just happened 2 seconds ago. So I will let you guys know if I see a headline, but I don't see one yet. But Jensen, basically, I would encourage people to watch the podcast. I mean, he really went in on this idea of, you're so concerned about China, but ultimately the Chinese tech stack, if we didn't become the de facto substrate by which Chinese developers build on top of American infrastructure, then China would eventually innovate and become that de facto layer. And if they're cheaper, faster, better, then a lot of these other hyperscalers have no choice but to potentially buy Chinese chips, which would not be a good thing. And if they're forced to not buy Chinese chips from the US government and they have to use crappier chips because we didn't innovate and we let the Chinese get away with it, then the Chinese would just have AI supremacy. So it was a very interesting discussion. It was the first time he really went in on this idea of why NVIDIA sells to China. And, obviously he's biased because it's going to help NVIDIA grow. But also, I think he also genuinely understands that you can't let China win this game because it's too important of a game that the US needs to be ahead on. AMD right there, 2%. NVIDIA is 197. That one's not making a move again. Still don't see an AMD headline. You got Pepsi up 0.61. D-Wave's up 5%. Rocket Lab up 4%. This news is also pretty bullish, folks. IDF prepares for Lebanon ceasefire starting Thursday evening. Military sources from Israelis media. The army is preparing to stop hostilities this evening. If Iran refuses the U.S. proposal, Israel vows even more painful strikes. So the Israelis and the Lebanese were negotiating yesterday. Marco Rubio was there as well. It looks like the negotiations somewhat went well. If the Israeli media is reporting that there will be a ceasefire with Lebanon and Israel, that doesn't mean they are going to completely stop fighting. But if you get a U.S.-Iran deal, that probably creates a framework for Israel and Lebanon to hopefully get a deal. And then boom, you got 2 ceasefires going in place, potentially 2 deals that will get in place. And once again, something that can help oil come down, stop geopolitical instability, at least for the time being, and get the market to be back in its zone. So even that, you're seeing more and more excitement right there for the broader market in regards to geopolitical stuff. AMD is partnering with the French government for AI innovation. Stellantis is deepening its AI collaboration with Microsoft as well. Okay, so I guess AMD French government partnership, that's your headline, up 2%. I'll try to confirm that, but it looks like that's the best reasoning for why AMD is getting a move. I mean, NVIDIA is basically at all-time highs. AMD should be getting there, right? AMD went from 267 all the way down to 195, so it does make sense. Yeah, AMD in France, that's your headline. AMD is going to be signing a letter of intent with the French government to support the country's national AI strategy, aiming to accelerate innovation and broaden access to advanced computing resources. Okay, Macron, help him pump up AMD right here. Jose, thank you for the super chat. Mick, can you please say hi to my twin girls, Kaylee and Cassidy, who watch you every morning before they go to school? They love it when you ring the bell. Kaylee and Cassidy, thank you for watching the show with your pops. Deeply, deeply appreciated. He is a very, very smart guy, and we all appreciate him when he's on the show. So thank you for being here. And yeah, I'm happy you enjoy the bell. A couple people actually sent me over the past week a video of their kids reacting to when I ring the bell. I think one was 7 years old, and the other kid was like 12, and it's very, very adorable to see that happen. So deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate the people that watch and the people that allow me to enter their homes or their cars while their kids are watching as well. And I deeply don't appreciate all the people that mute the bell. We're on a green rally and you guys are muting the bell. What is wrong with you? We're having the best rally we've had in years and you guys are muting the bell. It's unbelievable. What else is unbelievable, or maybe it is believable, depends on what side of the political aisle you are on, is Mamdani is getting ready to really tax the rich.
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-à-terre tax is specifically designed for the richest of the rich, those who store their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live there. But even so, they're able to reap the huge financial rewards of owning property in, dare I say, the greatest city in the world. And most of the time, these units are sitting empty, since again, they don't actually live here. This is a fundamentally unfair system that hurts working New Yorkers. Now, it's coming to an end. This tax will raise at least $500 million directly for the city. It'll help fund things like free childcare, cleaner streets, and safer neighborhoods. As mayor, I believe everyone has a role to play in contributing to our city, and some a little bit more than others. Happy Tax Day, New York.
Okay, I know people will have different political opinions about this. There's two reasons why I'm bringing this up. Number one, Mamdani is good at marketing. He's really good at marketing. I think from the Democratic Party, Trump has been good at marketing, right? There's a reason Trump rose to power in 2015, 2016. He captured people's attention. Mamdani knows how to capture people's attention and do it in a way that is modern, right? 21st century friendly, that actually gets people to listen to what he's saying, even if you disagree with him. Number two, once again, there is a divide in this country. And there are a lot of people that were very, very happy with what he posted yesterday because they don't think Ken Griffin, this got 15 million views organically on X yesterday. They are not happy that Ken Griffin can buy a $238 million apartment in New York City, not live there, and get massive tax advantages from owning that real estate. The capitalists would say, well, that allows Ken Griffin to take that money and invest and allow more properties to be built in New York and more jobs, yada, yada. And someone who's more against that would say it's unfair to the working class people. I think Trump understands that there is a massive divide in this country, and I really do believe personally affordability will once again be the number one thing that is on the voting block going into November. And so pivoting from the war and focusing on affordability, which I think Trump is starting to do based on some of the stuff that he's talking about in public, is important because you've got people like Mamdani that are focusing on affordability, even if they're not helping someone who is necessarily not wealthy, but they're hurting someone who is wealthy. And then the person who's not wealthy feels like they're being helped because the other guy is being hurt. And so there's something there that's very important from an economic perspective to understand. And obviously that affects the stock market based on the party that ends up getting in power. And I think that's why Trump is, once again, focusing back to affordability. Merv says, my 12-year-old gets in the car and says, Amit again. I say, that's right, baby. I go, do you like your life? We have to listen to him. I go, do you like your life? You do? Okay, cool. We have to listen to Amit. That is the best thing ever. That is the best thing ever. She was in the New York meetup. It was so awesome meeting her. I know her. I know your brother also watches the show. So that's great. Do you like your life? Cool. You got to watch the show. That is a typical mom. Like, oh, cool. You like having a car? You like not paying taxes? You like living in my house for free as a 12-year-old kid? Cool. Got to listen to Amit then. That's what you like. I love it. That's awesome. Wow, you guys are calling him Scam Donnie. You guys were calling me Scam It Media yesterday. The scams are just running high with everybody. All right, we got 4 minutes until this market opens. Put in the chat what you're doing today or what you're trying to do today. If you have any ideas of buying anything, selling anything, calls, puts, options you're looking into, potentially trimming. Deutsche Bank on this rally. They said this morning the velocity of this ascent has been nothing short of astonishing, with the index notching at an impressive 10.7% gain over the last 11 trading days. This pace even slightly outstrips last year's Liberation Day bounce back, which saw a 10.1% rise over the same period, which means so far we are actually outperforming the Liberation Day rally from the lows, at least for now. We ended up going up 30%. I don't know if we do that here, but if we do, that would be incredible. Excluding overlaps, such rapid gains are a relatively rare occurrence, with the S&P 500 achieving a 10% rally in 11 sessions, only 15 times this century, averaging roughly once every couple of 15 years. This is historic. What we are dealing with is absolutely historic, and the question is going to be, can we sustain it? And that's what we're going to find out today in the next 4 minutes, if this ends up having a shot to keep on going and having this rally continue. Oracle announced a partnership with Amazon this morning. We are establishing connectivity between Oracle Interconnect and AWS Interconnect multi-cloud customers to have access to a fast, private, managed connection to run applications on OCI and AWS. That's why Oracle is catching a bid as they are engaging in more partnerships with these hyperscalers. AWS is being one of them. I'm seeing a lot of people say Rocket Lab, HIMS, ServiceNow, SoFi. Again, a lot of these names, they had a really ugly 30-40% drawdown, and they're starting to finally come back. So makes sense that people are either holding on to them or potentially buying into that strength. I mean, SoFi is still down 30% for the year. ServiceNow still down 40% from the highs. So it's, you got a lot of these names that are trying to come back, but they're not back to anywhere near where they were even in January, which means, I think the idea of potentially positioning yourself to get back in before the run, like even Robinhood, if you believe we're back and it's a bull market and you don't have a massive Robinhood position and you hated that it went to 150 last year and you didn't participate, yeah, maybe you missed that 60, maybe you missed it at 70, but 90 to 120 would still be a hell of a move. And is it that crazy to imagine it gets to 120 if we really see that momentum come back? Not really. Like we would see, I mean, when it's a bull market, Robinhood controls everything. So I think there's a lot of different ways. HIMS, potentially, if that short squeeze along with the peptide regulations come into fruition, that helps. AEHR has been a massive winner. That's up another 16%. Meta and Microsoft are still down. Meta was 800 in freaking July last year, and Microsoft was 550 at the same time. They're still substantially lower from those levels, and earnings have grown. AMD went all the way to 195, right? So you might see Iran has not caught up to Nebius yet. There you go. Iran up 2%. Let's see if we can crack 50 today. Let's see if we can crack it. Part of the reason I bought a couple of days ago was because it was getting too much 8. Has not caught up to Nebius. It's just a catch-up trade. And, maybe that catch-up trade allows it to be an opportunity. And right now, I think a lot of people are saying, all right, a lot of stuff is run. I'm looking for opportunities. And maybe there are a lot more that are out there. All right, here we go. Thursday, April 16th, 9:30 a.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is once again open. All right, wake your ass up. Let's get into it. NVIDIA down on the day, 197.63. S&P, can we get 700? 796. 700.96. First time we are opening above 700. Absolutely incredible for the S&P 500. Robinhood, 88.60. AMD, 266. That's up 3%. D-Wave, that's up 3.5. Pepsi, that's 0.34. NVIDIA, 196.90. NVIDIA now getting a little bit more of a decline right there. I guess the TSM earnings weren't as good as the street wanted, and now NVIDIA is being punished by it potentially. Not sure exactly why. I'll try to see what's going on, but AMD getting a move, NVIDIA not. AMD right here is 265. That's up 3%. That's green. Did Grab actually hit 4? Oh my goodness, we hit 4. We're back to a 4 handle. All right, let's hold it. Let's hold it. Next stop is 450. Let's see. There you go. 4 handle. Back on Mr. Grabby Grab. Up from the 330 lows. Netflix, 107. They've got earnings today. Zeta, 1774. Circle, that's 105. ServiceNow, 98. That's up 4%. Iran loses the pump as soon as it opens. All right. At least it's above that 40 level or 45 level. Let's see if it can stay in that 47, 48 range. But 48, S&P still 700. Nebius as well. A little bit of a small dump at 165. Nothing too crazy. Down about 1%. ASTS up 1.7. That's green. AMD, did we hit an all-time high? We did. We touched it at 268. We touched it. Got rejected very quickly, but we did touch. We did touch. Why is Rocket Lab pumping this much? Was there news on Rocket Lab? Or is this just SpaceX proxy? Maybe there was, I didn't see any news, but there you go. Rocket Lab, ASTS is not moving like that. The other space name's not moving like that. Rocket Lab is 7.5%. They got an upgrade? Okay. Well, I guess that upgrade was pretty bullish right here. I know they got reiterated by Cantor the other day at 85. 79.20 on the Mr. Rocket Lab. Duolingo 102, that's up 3% on the day. You got Coinbase, that's up a little bit. Novo, that's up a little bit. Ondas back in $10 range. Palantir, we at 143. We were at 143. We almost touched 145 in the overnight markets, 143. NVIDIA actually getting a dump. Not sure why. I guess, is TSM dumping too? Yeah, TSM. What did they say on the earnings that got the street upset about TSM? That's a little weird. TSM and NVIDIA dumping, not the best for the neoclouds. CoreWeave, by the way, I think they diluted by $1 billion. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they did $1 billion senior convertible note this morning, due 2031 at 9.5%. Street looks like they don't care. 119.70 as that one continues to move. Robinhood 88.63, Palantir 143.64, Rocket Lab 77, AMD 268, trying to get back up there right now at 265. Google and Amazon are dropping as well. You know, Thursdays, we talked about in the morning, Thursdays are not good. Thursdays are not good. They've historically been down. If you annualize the returns, it's down 125% for 2026. So we got to overcome that Thursday ugliness. Air Test Systems down from 17% up to 12%. Where is that Bird nonsense? Bird is down 23%. Where's MYSE? MYSE is down from the pre-market, but still up 220%. It's now a $20 million company. Bird, if you bought at 24, you're probably upset. Volume still 8 million. It's still up from that $4 range yesterday at $12.50, but down 26%. Rocket Lab, 78. 78. Grab, are we holding 4? We are holding 4. We're trying to close before today would be very, very important. SpaceX bought 17 or 1,200 Cybertrucks. Wow. Bloomberg, SpaceX bought 1,279 or 18% of the Cybertrucks registered in the U.S. during Q4. I didn't know SpaceX was buying Teslas. What? The headline is Cybertruck sales were inflated by a SpaceX buying spree. Why is SpaceX buying Tesla? That is interesting. Tesla 389. That's also going red. That's also going red. You know, I know people hate the way the Cybertruck looks. I actually really love it. Like, I would love to have a Cybertruck, but it's just kind of too big, and I kind of don't need it. And you know, when I drove one, I would think it was kind of unnecessary. But it has been a failure. I mean, people have just not enjoyed that car. It really has not sold like the Model 3 or Model Y. So interesting to see that headline right there from SpaceX. Reddit 162.34. That is also green. Where is Bitcoin here? Are we at 76? Bitcoin is 74.83, so just below 75 on those levels. Ray says because nobody's buying the Cybertruck. Yeah, I mean, people just don't like this car. I really like it. I think it's cool. I don't even think it's ugly, but people just do not really like it. MYSE still up 200. CoreWeave up 1.4, back over 120. Back over 120. AMD, oh my goodness, she's doing it. She's doing 270 on the advanced money duplicator. Okay, yesterday was NVIDIA's day. Today is AMD's day. It's just that simple. Yesterday was AMD's day, or NVIDIA's day. Today it is AMD's day. I love it. Both of them getting their own day right there. 269, just cracked 270. I'll check resistance at 275 in a second. But, I mean, it would be very nice to see this thing finally hit 300 and make that stride. Intel right there, that's also up 2%. Intel, 52-week highs again. Intel, $332 billion market cap. AMD, $438 billion market cap as well, as that continues to get a big of a run right now. AMD 267. Let's see if that can break through. We're seeing, I would say, a little bit more weakness today in the first couple minutes than the past 2 days. The past 2 days were explosive in terms of volume and energy. S&P only 2 million shares traded. Even the volume is really not that high. Micron again down based on what TSM said in the morning about memory prices being soft. SoFi giving up a little bit of the pump, but still at 1940. Air Test Systems trying to come back. Amazon not getting you your 250 number. 2 days in a row now of being stuck right below 250. Oracle, massive move, 3.8%. Very nice to see that partnership with Amazon get it some love. Unfortunately, it's not really pumping Amazon here, although it probably is more beneficial for Oracle than Amazon. But it looks like 250 is inevitable. It just needs to normalize above it. Software, it's nice to see that coming back. Nice to see that coming back. Volume has been low overall. Yes, volume has been low overall. We talked to Jason about it on Tuesday. It's not necessarily bearish. We've had a pretty low volume rally back in March of April of last year. But I think a lot of people are afraid that, this is like, how sustainable is this? And is this just a squeeze in the midst of a, potential top that we would see, or like a double top? I know we are above where we were before on the S&P, but if we were to get rejected here, the chart would look like a double top, which wouldn't be exciting. So we got to keep this going. Like, we kind of got, otherwise you're going to have a lot of people saying this back above 900 thinking that this was all fake. And it doesn't feel fake, but the earnings will legitimize how real it is. But also, Marvell went from 90 to 130. Like, it's going to take a breather, right? Broadcom barely down at 394. It was at 290, 289. Like, some of these names probably need to take a little break. Credo was up 40% the other day. Yeah, Credo's down 6. Crimea River, right? Not that big of a deal. Is Quantum crashing? D-Wave. It lost the pump. It's not red yet on the day. IONQ again got that DARPA contract. That is down 1.8%. What's the other one? Rigetti. That is down 2%. Okay, so you're seeing some of the quantum names take a break as well. Zeta's up 2.8. Joby had a partnership this morning as well. Joby, where are we? Joby right there. That's up 2%. TSEM down 3%. Something happened in those TSM earnings. Wow, yeah. I don't think Tower Semiconductor is down unless the TSM earnings were concerning on some level. Rocket Lab, when's the last time we hit 80? Hold on. I think it was January. It was a while ago. It was February 4th. All right. There she goes. Back to 80. It's nice. It is nice to see this one back to 80. I don't know if it's being treated as a SpaceX proxy today, but whatever. I guess the upgrade was enough to get this thing to pump 9%, but very nice to see Rocket Lab making a move right there. Up 8% on the day. Big Bear AI, is that green? Big Bear AI is slightly green, up 1.4. Rocket Lab up 8. I think yesterday was a lot of FOMO buying. Well, that's why I think a lot of people want to see if this rally can hold, because if it was just FOMO buying, I mean, the selling pressure could be pretty intense if everyone thinks it was just FOMO. Robinhood starting to lose a lot of its steam, 87.50. We got so used to the past 4 days, like just up and up and up. And like legit felt like 2025, where it's like every day, like you just wake up and you're not concerned about hedging or anything. You're just like, you're good. Like, you might have a couple ugly moments in the day, but overall the day is good. We got used to that over the past 4 days, but we were used to 2 months of choppiness back and forth. So if we get flashbacks of that, we just got to see how the market reacts. Robinhood officially goes red. Nvidia loses 197. That one also goes red. OSS, which had a really bullish report yesterday from management, that's back at $10, up 2.24. That went all the way to 7, came back to 10. Marvell down 3. Okay, I think something happened in those TSM earnings that the street did not like. You have Marvell, Nvidia, TSEM, and Taiwan Semi, which are all related, and the hyperscalers and Broadcom taking a little bit of a hit. Microsoft pushing, Meta's pushing, and the Oracle's pushing as well. Oracle up another 5.8%. Schwab launches crypto trading, direct spot crypto trading for retail clients. Oh, wow. Hold on, that's a big deal. Bitcoin and Ethereum on Schwab? I would imagine Schwab has, 10 trillion under management or something? That should be really bullish. That means they want part of the action. They're going to charge 75 basis points per trade, which is really competitive with Coinbase. Coinbase does like 160 basis points, sometimes 200 basis points. 12 trillion. Okay, yeah. So I would imagine some of the 12 trillion wants to trade BTC and Ethereum. I don't see how that's bearish. SanDisk, you cannot hold her down. Back up 4%. Back up 4%. AMD, we did touch 270. Coherent and Lumentum, so your photonics plays are up about 5%. How about Poet? That is at 714. That's up 2.4%. Rocket Lab just below 80. Uber 77. And then Adobe still up 2. Still up 2. Gold and silver, how are those doing? GLD is flattish, but green. Silver, same thing. Not the same type of energy and excitement we've had over the past couple of days, at least on the open, which is okay. I mean, it might honestly be one of those days where things just relax. S&P looks like it's ready to lose 700 pretty quickly. 700.3. Robinhood just slightly going green. Nvidia staying in the red. Pepsi going down on those earnings. ASTS moving up a little bit. GLW, this one had a crazy run, down 3% over the past month, over the past month, 120 to 160. So again, that's not unexpected to see a little bit of a sell-off. A little bit. What's the Rocket Lab headline? Apparently it's an upgrade. I'm trying to find it. I don't see the upgrade though. What's the target on the upgrade that people are seeing? I don't see exactly which upgrade we have here. But I guess that's enough. I guess that is enough there to help it. Rocket Lab, green. Tesla was almost 400 last night. This one, that's a little ugly, 385. Yeah, I would say there's not a war headline that I can give you guys that would explain any of the general weakness or general lack of excitement. If anything, there's positive stuff between Lebanon and Israel. But, I mean, we've had a really good run. At some point, it's got to stop. Maybe today. Maybe today it kind of chills out for a little bit. New booster technology for Rocket Lab. But see, okay, so that's good for Rocket Lab, but I don't like that the other high beta names aren't moving because Rocket Lab is super high beta, so you kind of want to see it move with a lot of the other high beta stuff because it, it just helps the whole sector. So 8%, it's just got to hold now. The other stuff is not holding. Palantir at least staying above 140. Nebius flipping kind of green. Robinhood, same thing, barely green. Where's Oscar? Is that still 15? Oscar's 1565. This one up 30% from the lows. Lemonade. This one is up 2.4%. The semis today are all down except Qualcomm, Broadcom, which are barely green. Intel's actually really green, and then AMD is really green. So everything else is pretty much red. Dell also, I guess, TSM and the server rack demand, maybe TSM says something that's moving to Dell pretty decisively, and you're getting excitement there. Space is all green except EchoStar. Yeah, Voyager was awarded another NASA contract yesterday. We talked about that. If Rocket Lab is having a residual effect of that, then that could also explain the move right there. That's up 8%. How about Nike? Nike's 46. It was at 41 last Monday. The insiders started buying a couple million of stock. VG also getting a pump, which usually is associated with the VIX going up and the S&P falling down a little bit. The SaaS names are all green. I mean, if semis chill down a little bit, given how much they've had a relative beta to software, I think the SMH over IGV index hit an all-time high on Friday last week, and SaaS just gets some of that money back. Look at that, all green across the board. I wouldn't hate it, especially if you bought any SaaS names. I don't think you'd be too upset. Mag 7 are all red except Meta, Microsoft, and Google, which are kind of barely holding on to the green. Microsoft having the best one. Apple is down 1.6. HIMS, are we pumping? HIMS, not as much as it was in the pre-market. Michael Burry entered Nike. Really? Is that confirmed? Is that legit? Burry's in Nike? That would be kind of interesting. I'll see if I can get confirmation on that. That would be interesting. Open Door is up 7. Mortgage rates did come down yesterday. A small amount, but enough to maybe get the housing market to potentially give a bid to some of your home builders. ASTS, that's at 90. That's up 3.4. It was down from 104 on Monday. S&P at least holding the 700s. MYSE, where is that? This was at random social media companies, still up 215%. And then Birds, are we dumping here? Yeah, 25% down. Kind of ugly. Kind of ugly on this one. PayPal is also, PayPal's up 25% from the lows, if I'm not wrong. So PayPal's also making a hell of a move. Almost breaking 50 too, which would be nice. What is MYSE? This is a company that rebranded as an AI company last night. That's why they're up 209%. There is literally nothing special or important. It was a $6 million market. Like, some companies just go public for the hell of being public. It's a private social media network. Like, there's nothing there. But the traders are in this now. Volume is 125 million on this AI push. Why is Micron down, SanDisk up? I guess based on what TSM said about HBM, that's uniquely affecting Micron more than SanDisk right here. But SanDisk did take a dump yesterday, so maybe it's getting a relief rally. But Micron's also not dumping. It's down 1%, but yeah, it's not moving with SanDisk. Nike up 2. What else do we have? Rubrik up 3, Amcor 61. Yeah, a lot of stuff is just chilling out today, which is okay. It's not a bad thing. A lot of stuff just chilling out and kind of settling in. I don't think it should be too scary that this stuff is kind of relaxing. Oracle's wild, dude. Absolutely wild. Should have bought more. I mean, goodness, 130 to 180. I think the reason it's getting a bigger move is because, software is such a small part of their business, but it was the only reason it sold off. So once the street discounts software or prices in software, all you're left with is massive levels of data center and compute. And then boom, there you go. Back to some key levels. Goldman Sachs came out with a report yesterday, and they said the demand for inference is so large that the companies they're surveying are allocating 10% of their labor costs to compute. So if you're spending $10 million on your employees, 1 million of that, 10% of the amount you're spending on labor, which is like a really important part of running a business, right? Your employees, is now going to compute. Imagine if that gets to 20 or 30%, which is kind of what Jensen is hinting at over the next decade. I mean, honestly, it's hinting to more towards 50 to 70%. That is where you see NVIDIA start doing a couple $1 trillion of revenue. And then things, get really, really exciting. So bullish for the NeoCloud. Cypher is that green today. Cypher 1737, APLD. That is flat. AEHR, again, we covered them in the morning. Massive day again, 20%. Only a $2.78 billion company. Another hyperscaler order came in. Street loves it, and that's green. So you're seeing some of those names just compound the deals they're getting. Valuation, Street doesn't care. I mean, at this point, you show more deals, the Street's ready to give you more of a bid, just given how much we're seeing the AI companies grow. Anthropic's going to need a lot of compute. And if you're going to need a lot of compute, you're going to need a lot of these companies on the supply chain to help that play off. Adobe right there, that's up 2%. Okta back up 7%. This is another software name that got sold off pretty badly. Okay. There you go. There you go. Again, AMD 265. We did hit 270. Got to see if we can break back above this level. AMD has earnings in a couple weeks. NVIDIA has it in about a month. So the street does have some time to figure out what's going to happen there. American Express announced an acquisition of Hyper, an AI-focused expense management startup backed by Sam Altman. American Express 329 buys a Sam Altman-backed company. Okay. Maybe American Express trying to get some AI association with them as well. Baba and Baidu are up. All right. So China. Wow. Baba. Where has Baba? We really haven't looked at China over the past couple of weeks. China is flat over the past month. Baba's down 11% year to date, 17% in the past 6 months, 5 days up 7%. Do we have jobless claims today? Yeah. 207,000 versus 215,000 expected. So really it was not a big deal. And the street did not care. It's not recessionary yet at all. Britain to scrap their carbon tax on electricity generation from April 2028. Okay. Pulling back some taxes in the UK for the Brit. Mamdani's doing the opposite. He's ratcheting it up inside of New York City. Him's right there. That's up 4. Reddit's flat. Reddit just went red. Yeah, guys, today feels like a breather day. Today feels like a breather day. You're seeing all the high beta names take a little bit of a chill pill right now, which is okay. That is okay, but you are absolutely seeing some breathers. I mean, it's normal, right? It's got to chill out a bit. It's got to chill out a bit. 47 on Iran. This thing is trying to hit 50 in the pre-markets. SPY, did we lose it? Did we lose it? We lost it. We lost 7 hundo. She took it away from us. As that one is now going down. 699.82. 699.82 on SPY. Grab still going. Grab 405. Close above 4 again would be very important. Volume 8 million. Bitcoin's dumping too. Is it? That's not. Oh, Bitcoin's ugly. That's too ugly. That's nasty. Look at that, dude. That's like 1,500 in a second. Palantir, are we getting a dump on Palantir as well? Palantir also goes red. Yeah, today is a breather. Bull market over, folks. We're done. Nice 11-day stretch. We're out of here. We are out of here. It's over. No, I'm just kidding. But look, again, these stocks made a big move. At some point, we got to be honest with ourselves about how much of a move they made. Oil also spiking up is not helping. I don't see the headline, though, for why oil should be spiking. Maybe more concern about the war, but I don't see anything that crazy that would be causing that. Iran's planned Hormuz toll to be paid via Iranian banks. Maybe they're not using Bitcoin anymore. That's why it was bearish Bitcoin. But look, a lot of people were upset over the past couple of days. They couldn't get an opportunity to get in. If we get a real nice, mature dump right here, which is probably, I'd say 1.5% on the S&P, giving back this 11% move, or some of it, you're going to see names take a 5 to 10% haircut, which is okay. That would be okay. Oklo, this is another big sign of a bull market to me. Look at that, flipping red as well. Flipping red as well. Yeah, NVIDIA just getting clobbered right here based on where it was yesterday. NVIDIA 196.40. Amid Ireland and Australia, petroleum pumps are done. I live in Ireland and we can't get petrol. Is there like a legit issue in Ireland in regards to oil? Because I know in Southeast Asia there definitely is, or there has been. VIX, where's the VIX? If you got those covered calls, they're creeping back up today to help you out a little bit. AEHR, massive move, 20% on that new hyperscaler order. VIX is up 5%. VIX is up 5%. Why are you guys acting like petrol is not a word? It's another word for oil. Petrol. I'm not saying it's patrol. I'm saying it's petrol. Petrol. There's nothing wrong with my pronunciation. I don't know what you guys are talking about. No one's going to gaslight me today into thinking that I'm wrong here. Nebius, 161.89. That's down as well. I'm not saying it wrong. It's petrol. What are you talking about? But it's petroleum. Like, what are you talking about? Like in India, people say petrol all the time. Like literally, they don't even call it a gas station. They call it the petrol. No, I'm not falling for any of this nonsense today. Not today, bro. We're not on a red day, okay? On a green day, we can deal with that shit. Not on a red day. You got Palantir going back down, Hood going back down. We're not doing this anymore. Not doing this. Okay, you guys can keep commenting all you want about how I'm wrong I am on this. I don't care. I'm not going to be suckered into this. Meta, 670. She's dumping too. She's unfortunately dumping as well. Okay, so you're seeing a lot of these now start to reverse. I don't know if you want to call it a dump, but they're definitely going down a bit more. S&P losing 7,000. Zandu got halted. Why is this the only quantum name that was up 13% against the rest of them? This is the only quantum name that was up versus all of them. That's halted. Orbs is down 8%. Archer's down 1.2. GameStop's down a little bit. SPY, again, still losing it. Grab, 3%. I guess some money's rotating into that. And then AMD is green. Dude, I'm not saying this stupid word wrong. It's freaking patrol. Like, I don't know what you guys are saying. Like, okay, we're going to look at the freaking, this shouldn't be a debate anymore.
Petrol.
AMD, 262. That's up 2%. That's green. Bitcoin, wow, 73.6. Okay, that one continues to go down. This is an actual $1,200 move that we're seeing down. And that's ugly. That's very ugly. Yes, I'm just going to act like nothing happened. At this point, I don't even care. I'm just going to act like nothing happened. I'll move on. Eventually, you guys will forget. Give it 10 minutes. People move on from this. If 10 minutes from now, people are still commenting this thing, then you guys have issues. But we're moving on. Pepsi, 157. That's dude, what is the headline that's really getting the street? Even SoFi couldn't even freaking hold on to 1950 here. Robinhood just dumped. Was it the Jensen? Dude, is the street upset that Jensen was a little mean yesterday? Is that what the street upset about? Jensen saying he's not a loser? Like, or it's just typical that we had too much of a run and it's coming back down. Feels like it's definitely the latter, but obviously it is what it is. I mean, this is part of the reason why we're probably getting a little bit of a sell-off right here. Google, just 11 days ago, was the most oversold level in 2 decades. In 20 years, yesterday it crossed above a 70 RSI into overbought territory. So, I mean, I think the velocity of the move, unfortunately, at some point, it's got to take a chill pill. And today it's taking a chill pill. It is what it is. There's nothing wrong about that, but it is something that everyone's trying to navigate right here. And you're probably seeing a lot of those moves get that big. I rolled my covered calls yesterday. Today they are breathing. Yeah, I think for a lot of people that would be the case. It's so crazy though, because we got so used to it, bro. Like 11 days of just up and up and up. Like it felt like the good old days. Getting reminded that we got to chill. Iran, 5% down. Oil is moving. Why? Why is oil moving? 93 on oil. We have a headline from Iran. NBC, Iran obtained a Chinese satellite in 2024, which it used to monitor military sites in the region. NBC, some sites that Iran monitored via the satellite purchased from China were later bombed. That has nothing to do with oil, though. That has nothing to do with oil. It's OPEX tomorrow. Yeah, but it's not like quad witching tomorrow. I mean, it's a Friday. It's always, we have a big expiring day, but I don't know if that's the reason. All your high beta getting hit. Rigetti down 3. OSS is down. Big Bear is down. Tesla 383, 2%. Open Door and HIMS holding on somehow. They're also very high beta. Allbirds, this piece of junk, down 27%. I mean, if things go red, these 6x in 5 hours types of moves, it's hard for them to last. MYSE, the fact that this is still up 200% is incredible. But that is green. SanDisk up 2.3. Oracle still 175. Rocket Lab does not care. That's correct. We do not have CPI tomorrow. We just had CPI the other day. Literally had CPI last week. We had PPI earlier this week. What do we have tomorrow? We have consumer confidence tomorrow. No, we don't even have that. We have nothing tomorrow. We have a Fed. We have maybe a little bit of Fed talk, but that's it. Today, we had jobless claims. We had manufacturing production, but that came out in the pre-market. Didn't matter too much. I don't know. Yeah, look, I don't think we're going to find a headline today. I just think the amount of move that we had, I mean, it's also not really disgusting green. The S&P is down, what, 0.17, down $1 after going up $70 in the past 2 weeks. It feels like this is more something that was expected. It sucks, right? It's annoying. It's like, damn, we almost kept it through. Palantir, yep, 139. There you go. I mean, if we're seeing the VIX spike up 5%, yeah, Palantir is going to take a hit. NVIDIA's taking a hit. All these names are going to take a bit more of a hit. Air Test Systems still up 18. Micron trying to recover. but that is still down. Greed is 62. AAOI is ripping. The Photonics play. Well, Coherent was up today, so that's probably helping it. Is Poet doing a sympathy rip as well? A little bit, 1.29. And that is still holding on to the green. Rocket Lab 79.50. Rocket Lab 79.50. We're going ready red. Oh my God. Dude, see, this is actually a good thing because tomorrow, if we get a rebound, or let's say Monday, if tomorrow, because it's Friday, that's good. Because look, in a healthy bull market, when you go red, in a few days, people buy the dip, right? That's what lets you know the momentum is there to continue. So if we actually get a proper red day, which would probably be down at least 0.5% on SPY, which I don't even know if we're going to get there, but let's say we do, then we have an opportunity to see, can we go up? And like, you know, if everything just keeps going up and up and up, it continues to feel fake. If you get some breaks in between and those dips get bought, that means real money has been waiting for an opportunity and they're coming in, which, you know, continues to help pump. And going to earnings season, you know, maybe that continues. Yeah, day after taxes, that's also potentially another reason. AXTI, all your Photonics names are getting a move right here. AXTI up 13. Not sure why, but Lumentum and Coherent are also up. Wow. Lumentum up 8. Now, granted, these can go up or down 10 in a day. They're very volatile. But AXTI, Lumentum, Coherent, all of them. I don't see the headline on any of them either. Well, Coherent. No, there's no headline here. No, there's nothing here. At least nothing that I see. Did TSM say anything about Photonics? I honestly don't know. I did not. I would imagine they definitely commented about it. I did not listen to the call, so I was not sure, but I'll go through the transcript and see. Oracle still holding on 175. Planet Labs up 10%. Your space names making their move. Chinese foreign minister, U.S.-Israel war against Iran threatens energy Strait of Hormuz shipping security in a statement. Again, they've said this many times, so I don't think anything super new is being said there. We talked about AEHR already. That one deserves to be up today. Schwab announcing the direct trading of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Talked about that as well. That is also good for BTC, but BTC is down a nice $1,200 in 5 minutes here. I patrolled all my covered calls down today. See, I told you guys, not even 10 minutes later, everyone forgot about it. Sometimes you just got to ignore. The best thing to do is ignore. People forget. It's like 6 minutes later, everyone's back to focusing on the red. That is crazy, though, dude. I really thought it was Patrol. I really, really, really thought it was Patrol. Micron going greeny green, at least for Micron. 457. How big of a hit to Hood is the Schwab news? It's not a hit at all. I mean, I think this is good. More people trading crypto just means crypto has more volatility, which is good for Hood. I don't think Hood, I don't think it's Schwab's going to commoditize any of Hood's trading volumes on crypto. It's just increasing the TAM for people that are trading, which is net good, I think, for Hood. Amazon 245. Amazon getting a dump. Meta 670. Again, Meta's red. That's annoying, but it was 500 2 weeks ago. Like, it is what it is. Fastly holding on to a 1% move. What do people think about Netflix today? Let's do pump or dump on Netflix and put in the chat if you like have a position on Netflix that is substantial to you. And if you see a pump today to like 150, would you sell? If you see a dump today to 80 and your average is 70, would you sell? Like, kind of how are you thinking of Netflix? I do not own this one. Netflix, pump, dump, or flat today. What do people think? Tass, if this continues, you're going to have to leave for another month and then come back so that you can give us another massive 11-day rally. That's what we're going to need from you if we still go red. Microsoft is barely holding on. But again, yesterday was the big move for Microsoft. Today, a lot weaker on this red candle. Yeah, I don't see the headline for oil going up. I don't see it. Zeta got a red candle. Zeta Yep. Red on Zeta as well. Sipping, thanks for the $10 super chat. You're not talking to someone who woke up a loser. Gangster Huang. Dude, that by the way, that has been clipped. That clip of Jensen saying you're not talking to a loser. I mean, this is going to be an epic clip for decades. Literally for decades. I mean, how many times are we going to be able to use this?
You're not talking to somebody who woke up a loser. You're not talking to somebody who woke up a loser. You're not talking to somebody who woke up a loser.
This is great, dude. This is great. There's so many ways to use that one. Zeta, 1730. VIX down a little bit from the highs, but still up 3. I just left my haircut. What the hell is going on today? So Keel gone. Now we have someone to blame. Your haircut gave the market a haircut, unfortunately. So thanks for that. Deeply appreciate it. But yeah, it's your fault. It is your fault, sir. Thank you for that haircut. Grab right there, 403, Air Test System 17, Salesforce 179, IGV 83, Adobe up 1.3. Hood getting an ugly candle too. Again, that's the one issue with Hood, man. If Bitcoin tanks, it's just really tied to it. And then if the S&P doesn't continue to make all-time highs and keep going up, you know, markets think we might be a little bit more bearish, which is just not the best for Hood. But at least I'm happy we're holding 80. Let's stay above 80 and not kind of get back to those low 70s, which was, you know, where there was a lot of ugliness. Credo is down 7. I like the debate between Dwarkesh and Jensen. He doesn't shy away from asking tough questions. Yeah, the feedback that I've seen on it is, one is taking Jensen's side and saying that Dwarkesh is an idiot and he's being like overly hostile, and he's like, but like he compared compute to enriched uranium, and some people might agree with that, like a Dario, quite frankly, given how doomeristic he's been around AI. But Jensen's like, bro, what are you talking about? We're not selling them nukes. But I could understand the perspective of like, okay, like, but if it could be interpreted as that, right, from a technological perspective. And then the other perspective I heard is that Jensen is too afraid to really answer the deep hitting questions, and Dwarkesh actually challenged him on some of these key things. It's just, out of all the things to challenge on, it was interesting that he focused on China. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things you could challenge NVIDIA on, but the China stuff, I don't know. Do people talk that much about NVIDIA giving chips to China? Like, do we care that much? I feel like it's brought, even Burry doesn't bring that up. Like, it's like randomly brought up here and there, but it's not like you have every politician going on the primetime shows saying we have to stop NVIDIA from selling to China. So it was interesting that that's the kind of core crux of the, I guess, dispute he had with Jensen, but it made for a very interesting discussion between both sides. AI race between China and US is a real thing. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It is definitely a real thing. I just don't know how much people have questioned NVIDIA doing this, or NVIDIA selling. Well, I guess there has been a lot more questions than not, given the export controls we had. And, you know, obviously NVIDIA's defense of American infrastructure being the tech stack, I agree with. I think it's a legit argument. I can understand how people think, well, he's just talking his book, he just wants to make money. Like, sure, but I also do think there's some legitimacy to that claim. Hegseth was live in the morning. I'll get a couple clips of it. He didn't say anything too different from what we've already heard. So I don't think Hegseth said anything. I'm still trying to see why oil is spiking. There's no macro stuff that came in. Anthropic's new artificial intelligence model, Mythos, could put traders in the broader financial system at risk through a Securities and Exchange Commission database, the American Securities Association said. So basically this Mythos thing is, the reason it's so high profile is because Anthropic came up with a model that is essentially finding every flaw inside of American corporate industry, whether it's the SEC or whether it's Meta. And that's why, like, Jay Powell and Besant have been getting these classified briefings around what's going on with this model, which is kind of crazy. OpenAI came out with their competitor yesterday and is also trying to find these security flaws. But like we're just seeing more and more use cases of AI stack up to the point where now the leading foundation model companies are scanning the entire American corporate ecosystem to find issues inside of these companies because of how good the models are becoming. Which I guess is still bullish to even if there's some problems. First of all, if they find problems, they can fix them. But second of all, the models are getting really good. It's kind of scary, right? Yeah. But the models are pretty freaking good. Hala B says, Amit, I sold my hood. Hala, did you sell at 88? If you sold at 88, this guy put in 1.3 million at 70, which means he made 185 racks. Not bad, sir. Congrats. Decent trade for 4 days. See, these are opportunities, man. These are like, if you can go in heavy with size on some of these names and they make a nice 20-30% move. Dude, you really got like Loki the bottom, and maybe for now you got the top if you sold at 88, at least for today. That's incredible. There you go. Nice little move. I sold at 81. Okay, so you made a lot less. If you sold at 81, then you still made a lot of money. You still made 6 figures. That's still not bad. AXTI 15, that's moving. That is moving. Are we getting our V? Is our V coming back? Oh, we're about to go green again. We just went green. Dude, it was a 4. Look at that. Look at that beautiful V. She's trying. If she gets to 701.30. She gets to 701.30. Then we're V'ing it up here. This is amazing. This is, if we actually do it. And see, this is what I'm saying. This reminds me of last year. Like if we start V-shaping like this quickly is kind of crazy. I didn't expect it to be for another couple of days given the trauma of February and March. But if it's coming back, if the dip buyers are ready that quickly, especially with options expiring tomorrow. Korea, look at that. That's up 1.6. By the way, SK Hynix is about to list on the NASDAQ as well. So U.S. investors will get access to it. And that could also create a lot of liquidity for them. Poet right there. Up 2.8%. Fed Williams, inflation will be well above 3% over the next few months. Oh, that's just what we needed. We needed some Fed hawks to come out and talk about inflation. I hope the market doesn't care about what the Fed says. Here were his quotes. Fed policy is currently modestly restrictive. Inflation will be well above 3%. Monetary policy is in the right spot. Prolonged conflict could increase economic impact. Not the right time to provide forward guidance. Well, they never provide us any guidance. They never tell us anything. So, of course, it's not the right time. He did say market is pricing in a reflective balance between strong U.S. outlook and war-related uncertainty. And the market is picking, the health of the U.S. economy and the strength of earnings over the war right now, which is what matters. The Chinese government is reportedly pressuring Spain to help stop the European Union proposals aimed at making the bloc's companies more competitive. Dude, Spain's been interesting. They've been the most vocally against the United States against Iran. And the prime minister just met with the Chinese president, Xi, a couple of days ago. Maybe they're trying to cozy up to the CCP. Maybe there's something they're trying to get out of that. Rocket Lab, can we get 81? Can we get 81? Why do you think Credo's tanking? I think it was up 40% in a week. It's taking a pullback. I don't think there's any major headline here. I didn't see any headline. I think it's just taking a breather. Xi is pronounced Xi. Look, with my pronunciation track record, you should just be happy I'm not saying Xi, okay? Or Xi. Give me a break, okay? It's not perfect. It's not Xi, but if it was really bad, it would be a lot worse. It'll be a lot worse. So we're sticking with the best that we got. MYSE back below 4. SanDisk up 2. Oracle getting a little red candle as well. Did anyone buy the dip this morning at all? Put in the chat. Did anyone buy anything? This like 0.5% of a 0.5% dip. Data Vault, yes, they announced the deal this morning. That company, wow, I didn't know there was 73 cents. That's up 5%, $448 million. See, this is a company that literally has AI in their name, and their stock is not pumped. Well, they went from 55 cents to 73 cents. But I feel like if they do another or if they just buy some GPUs or something, like maybe that's enough to get it to move. Birds is down 30%. Down 30%. I bought Tesla. I bought Hood, NVIDIA, SoFi. I'm thinking of buying Iran. Was that a dip? I mean, not really. I'm kind of being facetious here. But it is potentially a dip if we V-shape fully. So we got to see. Amidst social credit is negative 1 million. Yeah, I can never go to China. I'm legit afraid to go there. Hims and Reddit. Hims needs to really break out, dude. This every time it makes this move into the mid-20s and gets stuck, it's not encouraging. Reddit losing 160 as well. Losing 160 as well. Selling puts on Uber. I don't hate that. Uber's cheap. It's just not had the best narrative. Bill Ackman's loaded up on Uber. By the way, Bill Ackman, this was a part of the video I didn't show when he did that interview with Vlad, where he explained why you should invest in the Pershing Square IPO. He once again describes how they made so much money in COVID. He conveniently leaves out that he went on CNBC and kind of basically told everybody to sell while at the same time he was, profiting off the selling by these credit default swaps. But this is why he thinks we should invest in Pershing Square. He's going to take opportunities like this in the future to make more shareholder returns.
Until I started getting interested in this thing called COVID in January of 2020. And first, my interest was health interest. I had a father at the time. My dad had lung cancer. Was overweight. He had a lot of, as they called them, comorbidities. And where COVID, I thought, was a real threat to him. So I wanted to protect him. But the kind of deeper I got, the more I realized this was going to have a pretty significant economic effect. In fact, we would have to shut the global economy in order to stop the spread of this pandemic. And the markets were priced, both the equity markets and the credit markets, as if everything was fine. It's a bit like there was this massive storm coming. We could see the storm, but everyone else is just playing on the beach. And so what we did is we bought same kind of instrument, a credit default swap. We bought it on the index of all these various credits. And over a 10-day period, we bought about $74 billion notional value of this insurance. It cost us only $27 million. 10 days later, it became worth $2.6 billion. We took that money in March of 2020 with the market down 30%. We bought stocks. And then 9 months later, we had another concern. And that concern was you had Trump spending trillions of dollars to keep the country from, falling into a depression during COVID. You had Powell keeping interest rates at zero. You had a vaccine where people are going to start wanting to spend money again. You had sort of animal spirits. In our view, this would create a demand shock at a time when supply chains were disrupted, and we thought this would lead inevitably to a large amount of inflation. And to protect our portfolio, we bought what's called an interest rate swap option. It's a bit like an option on interest rates. So the 2-year Treasury, 2-year rates were at 12 basis points, 0.12%. And we bought an out of the money, in effect, almost like a call option, struck at 94 basis points. So imagine you bought had a call option on a stock and it was 7 times the stock price. It was way out of the money, but it was still, in our view, a very low interest rate, 0.94%. And those instruments ultimately turned into $2.6 billion of profit. And we took the profit, and again, we bought stocks. So if you think about our strategy, it's about owning some of the best businesses in the world, where we buy them opportunistically at good prices. Sometimes we buy them when people have lost confidence in management, and then we help. That's kind of the day job. That's the
Vlad in that freaking bow tie. It just gets me, bro. He's just listening. Oh my gosh, this is great. But basically, Ackman saying, look, if you think I can do that again in the future and effectively basically outsmart the markets when there's a catastrophe coming, then invest in Pershing Square. And that's his pitch to retail. I don't think it's the best pitch given, the allocation of the funds inside of the actual capital management firm, which is just big tech. It's not like you can't do that your own. But that is his argument. NVIDIA right there, 197.40. 197.40. At least that's up from 196. At least that's up from 196. VG up 3. Dude, why is oil pumping? What is the reason? I don't see anything about refineries. I know yesterday we had a bad report about oil, but that kind of got priced in, I think. Oscar goes red. Broadcom red. Corning red. Silver red. Iran ugly red. 6.3% down. Is Iran using their ATM? Feels like they might be. Private credit is all red today as well. VIX up 5. Well, I guess this 11-day stretch going to come to a little bit of a close potentially today. At least in terms of its big, unless we see a, intraday 0.5% rally SPY, even if we end slightly green, it's not going to be the type of green we've seen over the past couple of days. Which again is okay. That is okay. 698. Yeah, Intel just doesn't stop. I kind of feel like people are piling into Intel now for the wrong reasons. Like there was a thesis at 18, 20, 30, even at 40, you could still stretch a thesis. Now it's like, okay, they got to put up some real growth to keep giving them this level of momentum. And I don't know if they will. I mean, last quarter they had good growth, but their supply chains were wrecked, and so they weren't able to really, really put up the numbers they needed to. So if you have another issue like that, I wonder how much the street will care. AMD up 2.5. Gold is not 5,000 yet. No. The crypto drawdown is weird. I don't know what's the reason for that. 75 in the morning. 76 2 days ago. There's your candle. Secretary of War interview this morning. Let me pull up those clips. I haven't even pulled those up yet. Let's see. Okay, so what did Hegseth say? Well, maybe this headline. The IEA announced that Europe has just 6 weeks worth of jet fuel remaining as the Iran war continues. The IEA also says that many flights may soon be canceled as a result. Jet fuel prices in Europe are up over 100%. And that's definitely not helping. Here was Besant when asked about if China is helping Iran.
Secretary Hegseth, there's reporting that says U.S. intelligence indicates China is preparing weapons shipments to Iran during this ceasefire. What's your reaction? Are these reports accurate, and what would be the consequences for the Chinese if they move forward with these shipments?
Well, as you know, President Trump has a very strong and direct relationship with President Xi, and they've communicated on that, and China has assured us that that indeed is not going to happen, and in the spirit of the meeting they'll have next month. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But there is an alternative. As our negotiators have said, you, Iran, can choose a prosperous future, a golden bridge, and we hope that you do for the people of Iran. In the meantime, and for as long as it takes, we will maintain this blockade, successful blockade. But if Iran chooses poorly, then they will have a blockade and bombs dropping on infrastructure, power, and energy. And at the same time, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and our friends over at Treasury are launching Operation Economic Fury as well, maximizing economic pressure across the entirety of the government. But there is an alternative. As our negotiators have said, you, Iran, can choose a prosperous future, a golden bridge, and we hope that you do.
Okay, so I don't think we got anything from Hegseth that was that relevant there, that changed kind of how the market is thinking of this. Hood down 3. Palantir 1% up, or 1% down, I should say. Poet's up a little bit. Lemonade's up 1%. Oscar's red. Yeah, guys, it's just one of those days. It's just one of those days now, which is okay. The world will have an oil supply problem for months and months to come, even with the deal. Yeah. And, like, that's true. And we know that, and the market knows that. And effectively, we've priced that in. The question is, I guess, is it priced in enough, or did we price it in too much? And it's not priced in enough, which is why we have to go down a bit more to deal with that level of an oil shortage that could be coming. Service now, 95.79. You're seeing right there, as that is also it's also getting hit. Can you look at TSM earnings? We looked at TSM. TSM earnings were fine. There were no major issues there. Nothing that we should be like super concerned about. I got to go through the call to see what exactly the street is upset about, because that seems to be the broader issue. I can pull up some of the numbers. ASML dumping. Well, ASML, their guidance is a little ugly. Nothing in TSM. Dude, TSM crushed their numbers. They're talking about 30, 40% growth on older key metrics. ASML, wow, 4% right here. So I'm not sure what the street's mad about. TSM, 366, that's down 2. Coherent, up 6. Broadcom, 0.2. AMD, do we have any chance of 270? It's trying. AMD is having a great day. NVIDIA's not. The rest of the semis are not, but AMD is. Could the market be pricing in a Taiwan invasion because of Amcor Intel? No, I don't think so. If the market's pricing in a Taiwan invasion, I think before they buy Intel, they're going to sell the crap out of a lot of more stuff. I don't think that would be the reason. But in general, maybe those smaller supply chain stocks in semis are getting a bid. Microsoft 414, Meta still red. A lot of this red isn't even that ugly. Like Meta's down $1. It's not. It's like you can't even do anything about it. Yeah, it's down $1. Oh, the Cuba stuff's actually so. Okay, the Cuba stuff feels more real than not. Multiple reports last night that Trump is legit thinking of Cuba. And he's been making a variety of different arguments. So you had a couple different news sources reporting that President Trump's top military advisors, let me pull it up right here. Axios said U.S. is directly suggesting that here was the main. So the U.S. is suggesting that the current Cuban regime is complicit in supplying Russia with troops. And the Trump administration has informed Congress that Cuba has contributed up to 5,000 fighters for Russia's war in Ukraine. So they're trying to set the foundation. By the way, Zandu right there, 23%, to make the argument that, look, we have to fight Cuba if they're supplying the Russians, which I don't know if that's enough of a justification, but you need something from a political perspective to tell Congress why you're taking this action. With Iran, it was the nuclear threat. With Cuba, it might be their fueling our allies or our enemies in the context of Russia. But that's something we have to watch out for. Now, in terms of threat to markets, I don't know if the market's going to care that much about Cuba. Like, I think they might, but Iran with the Strait of Hormuz is a little bit of a different problem. So if we do something there, I don't know if, the impact of a Strait of Hormuz being closed would have that same problem. The U.S. should just stop taking over countries. Well, I think people have suggested that to Trump, and he's doing his thing. JD was confronted about that, right, on Fox the other day. They asked him, like, we've heard you disagreed with this whole Iran war thing, and he was very diplomatic about it, but we'll see if I can get the clip. He definitely did admit that, like, he was like, I like to keep my private affairs private. Whenever someone says I like to keep my private affairs private, that means they don't want to answer the question, because they obviously don't want to give into the response. But yeah, it seems like, you did have people in the administration that just didn't want to do this.
As soon as it can. It's being reported that you had real skepticism about this at the beginning, and that you expressed that to the president. Is that true?
Well, Brett, I give my advice to the President of the United States, and we all do. And I expect that when I give advice to the President of the United States, that it's going to be private, because the president should rely on his senior advisors without them then running to the media. What I will say, Brett, is that I 100% agree with the president on the fact that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I've seen that just in the negotiation that we've had over the last couple of days, that these are tough negotiators, but they're fundamentally the kinds of people where them having a nuclear weapon would impose terrible costs on the entire world. If they're willing to engage in economic terrorism on the entire world, what would it mean? What leverage would they have if they had a nuclear bomb in Tehran? That's not an outcome that is acceptable to us, or really should be acceptable to anybody. So I 100% support the president's goals here to keep nuclear weapons, to keep the worst weapons of war out of the hands of the Iranians.
So that's what you got from Vance. That is what you got from Mr. Vance. Reddit back to 160. S&P not doing that V. Not doing that V yet. Just trying, but we're not getting it yet. Hinge right there up 5. Reddit's up 1. Zeta's up a little bit. Robin trying to get back to 85. The thing is, again, if Cuba does become a legit concern, I just wonder if the market is going to care about that volatility, or if the market is going to punish Trump by saying, look, we just dealt with Iran. We don't want to deal with this geopolitical stuff, even if it's not going to have as big of an impact on Iran. And I wonder if Trump's going to care, Or I wonder if they're going to forget about Cuba and just focus on affordability, which I still think is going to be the more important part of November. Yeah, oil up and grab up doesn't make sense either. That's weird, right? Grab should be down if oil's spiking. Grab should not be holding 4. Maybe oil is being a little manipulated today. That could be part of it as well. BTC is still down. New Jersey's having a special election today. I should have known that. I do not. I don't even know who the mayor of New Jersey is, bro. I am so out of the loop on this stuff. I think it's a Democrat. I think the governor is a Democrat, maybe. I know the state always votes Democrat. Although it was pretty close. In the Trump election, it was about 5% away from flipping red. It was pretty close. SoFi 19. Oh, yeah, I meant governor, not mayor. You guys know what I meant. I meant the person that makes the decisions for the state. That's what I meant. Because I'm thinking of New York City, mayor of New York. Obviously, Jersey's a state. I cannot make these moments up, bro. I cannot make these moments up. I didn't really mean mayor. I meant governor, obviously. But you guys, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Mitt, I would vote for you. Thank you. When I tried to run for president of student council back in 5th grade, I remember my speech like it was yesterday, dude. I told everyone I would get rid of homework. I told everyone I would be like, I will find a way to make sure we have no homework. I didn't end up winning, but that was my pitch to everybody. I was such a populist, dude. It was legit populist. What happened to the sensational instant coffee? I'm not a coffee guy. I've realized. I tried to get into it for you guys. I'm not. I'll get coffee from downstairs because they have free coffee, which is a lot better than the instant coffee. And I'll take half a sip and it'll just stay there and go cold for the rest of the day. I drink water in the morning and then I get ready to talk for 4 hours. I don't know. I guess I'm just not a coffee guy. IONQ down 1.5. Rigetti down 2. Bloom Energy, which had a massive run. Not crazy to see it down 5%. This thing went from 70 to 200. So it's going down. You have to add sugar to coffee. I do. I still add sugar. I don't know. I just like breakfast, coffee, all that stuff in the morning. I've just never really, really needed it. I don't know. There's something about
Getting up in the morning and just not needing a stimulant. Now, I think in the middle of the day is when I kind of need something a little bit more, but not in the morning. Meta goes green. Okay. 672. 672. You don't talk, you yap. There's a difference. That's true. Thoughts on Sive? I have not done enough research on this. I know they're trying to get listed on the NASDAQ as well. Another photonics play that's out there. Again, that sector has been the hottest sector this year. But I just haven't done enough due diligence yet. I was reading a couple articles on photonics yesterday, trying to just understand the industry more. Trying to see if it's like the most important part of the AI supply chain over the next couple of years, or is it just a bottleneck now and it eventually is not going to be that big of a bottleneck, so the valuations aren't that sustainable. So trying to understand it. Again, Poet, one of those photonics names that hasn't taken off. The South Koreans really like this name. The other ones, though, have made a pretty big move. Pretty decent move. Yeah, these are the photonics plays. Tess just sent me this. Let me pull it up on my phone and show this. Michael Burry. Wow. All right, he bought a stock. Guess what it is. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? He bought a 3% of his portfolio position in this stock. What do you think? These are all your photonics plays. A lot of them have had a massive year. Only a couple of them are red. Most of them are green. So it's been a big mover for a lot of these names this year. The answer is Salesforce. Salesforce. Michael Burry. 3% of his portfolio. So this guy buys Autodesk, Adobe, Viva Systems, and Salesforce. So he's basically saying, I'm bullish SaaS, but I'm bearish Palantir. But Palantir is going to have the best earnings inside of SaaS. So this is an incredible bet that he's making here. Not saying Salesforce can't do well. I mean, again, these stocks are definitely cheap compared to their historical averages. But Salesforce is not going to have a better earnings than Palantir. Adobe's not having a better earnings than Palantir. I'm sorry, Palantir is going to wipe the floor with all these companies on earnings. Like, they're going to slaughter these companies if you compare them. So I guess he's taking a bet that the valuation won't hold up, but these other software names need a bid. Which, look, I don't hate the Salesforce buy. I don't hate it. I just think it's crazy to be bearish Palantir and bullish every other SaaS name that's out there. But that's what he got. That's what you have right there. The bet is on the multiple, not on the earnings. Yeah, but the reason the multiple is compressed is because even with decent earnings growth, there's not been a reason for the multiple to expand, right? Like the whole story around SaaS, if you're not growing like an AppLovin or a Palantir, is that your multiple is going down because the discount on the future rate of growth on those cash flows should increase. And so any typical model would say, okay, well, that means that the share price has to take a meaningful correction. Now they have taken a meaningful correction. So the question then becomes, what gets the discount rate to go down, the multiple, or to go down from being elevated, the multiple to go up from being down? Two things: either a narrative change, like a massive narrative change, something that really spikes, like Salesforce gets a $10 billion government contract, now they're a massive government, or they grow earnings like crazy without buying back their stock, because I think the street's done with the whole financial engineering for these SaaS companies. And I don't know if Salesforce can do any of that. They already tried the buyback. They literally went in debt to buy back $25 billion of stock. That's not helping. I don't think Benioff's going to grow more than 10% revenue. I mean, I just don't know if the street cares. And then Agentforce is like, Agentforce is just a chatbot. Like, that's what it feels. It's like a helpful support assistant. Like, I don't know if Agentforce is really the thing. An official announcement regarding a decision on a ceasefire is expected to be received within hours. Okay, so that's with Lebanon and Israel. And then we already talked about this. The Pakistani Foreign Ministry said there's no specific dates yet for a new round of talks. But at least they are talking. Yeah, I know they already have a government contract, but I mean, a narrative shift would be like Salesforce starts becoming a de facto government contractor at a rapid scale. Or I don't know, Salesforce acquires, it's so stupid, but Salesforce acquires ServiceNow, right? Like it makes no sense, but like they make some massive, crazy acquisition, or they take $1 billion stake in Anthropic, right? Like some type of narrative shift that is so fundamental that the stock needs to be re-rated. Now, granted, maybe the earnings are enough growth and the multiples compressed enough where the bare minimum or a little bit above the bare minimum is enough to expand the multiple. I guess that's what Burry's betting on. But I wonder if this market is willing to do that, given how tailored it is to growth at all costs for these companies. AMD, still not breaking 270, but it's there. Moran says he favors 3 cuts, maybe 4 this year. That is our one dove just sitting in the corner, trying to get us these rate cuts. But he's the only one there. Agentforce is not just a chatbot. That's fair. I'm being a bit hyperbolic, saying it's just a chatbot. But I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know if Agentforce is the orchestration layer for AI inside of the enterprise to be. Again, the reason I'm saying that is because you're not seeing crazy growth on Salesforce. You're just not. 8-7% revenue growth is not like. And you might be saying, "Oh, they already have a big base." It's like, okay, but that's not our problem. If Benioff is saying we are the leaders of the AI revolution, you can't tell me 9 to 10% revenue growth is what Agentforce is producing right now. And you know this is true because they're buying back 50 billion of their stock. So they'll be like, oh, well, we're growing EPS by 25%. It's like, yeah, because you bought stock. That's what Apple's done for the past couple of years. Apple hasn't actually grown their EPS. They just reduced the share count. So that's why I think it's cheap, like SaaS is cheap, and it's probably going to pump. But to hate the growth names in SaaS and to love the undergrowy names, but the ones that are below multiple is just a different strategy. It is sticky. That is true. It is sticky. Google, are we trying to go to 340? Almost. Almost. My friends that work in Salesforce have no faith in Agentforce. Yeah, I have 2 friends in particular that work there that have told me how bad it is. But then again, I mean, you know, employees are employees. They might have their own biases. It's just, it is more of a trend to hear some of that stuff around Salesforce. Open Door 7%. He might as well buy IGV. Yeah, I mean, if he's betting on Adobe and Salesforce, anyway, he doesn't want the Palantir exposure probably, or the Microsoft exposure, which are the number 1 and 2, or the Oracle exposure. Yeah, those are number 1, 2, and 4, I think, in IGV. They've done the best since the rebound. Salesforce is a terrible place to work for in sales, and we all know it. I've never worked there. Obviously, I've heard that argument many times. But I don't know. It really comes down to reshifting the narrative here. Do we have any more oil headlines? I still don't think we got a big one. Let's talk about this Claude Mythos thing that's getting more and more attention. Hasn't affected the SaaS stocks too much today as they're rebounding. Oil seems to be the bigger story.
Suite of models that has really gotten to be known for coding and some of its work with agents. The company, though, saying, despite it being the most powerful for the broader market, it is not as powerful as Mythos, the cybersecurity model that we've been talking a lot about in recent weeks. They say here, though, it's a notable improvement from the last model, which was Opus 4.6 that's available to the public. They talk about advanced software engineering, particular gains in the most difficult tasks, and being able to handle essentially the hardest coding work out there. That's where Claude really has been seen as having an edge versus rival OpenAI here. They say, although it is less capable than our most powerful model, Claude Mythos Preview does show better results across a range of benchmark. They do reiterate here that Mythos is still going to just be for that small group of companies. They're saying it's released on a limited basis, and that is still the plan. They don't have plans yet, from what I've what I'm hearing, to roll this out to the general public. They say with this newest model, though, that they are baking in some safeguards. They're thinking about cybersecurity here and say that this particular model that I just mentioned, Opus 4.7, has safeguards that automatically detect and block requests that are prohibited with high risk security uses. So they are thinking about cybersecurity, but that is the latest. It does come, guys, as this company has seen outages. There has been some complaints recently about Claude and sort of the uptime, but this is a better, smarter model, just not quite as smart as Mythos. Back over to you.
Right, not quite as smart. But as we know, Kate, the market focuses on every new model from Claude and its ability and potentially.
His Mythos thing is a big deal. I guess this Mythos thing is a big, big deal. Thankfully, SAS not affected too much by it today. AMD, okay. Today's the day for AMD. Everyone got to have some fun over the past couple of days. Today, AMD is taking all the fun, and it deserves it. 270 again. Put in the chat if you are long AMD. I think I'll do a poll as well. We haven't done this in a while. So let's see. And when I mean long, I mean, like it matters in your portfolio. Like I have some, I wouldn't say it's like super, super, super relevant, but I did buy a 208 when it fell from 260, 254 the day before on earnings. By the way, 40% of you said Netflix is pumping today. So it's definitely not as big as NVIDIA for me. Okay, AMD, are you long? Yes or no? Wow, so many of you. How did this stock become this? Like, I get how NVIDIA did it because it's freaking NVIDIA, but this name, retail just loves AMD. Like, retail absolutely cannot get enough of this one. And you guys had to deal with a lot of shit when it was called the Advanced Money Destroyer for almost a year. 8 figures long AMD. AMD's 33% of holdings. Dude, I should have picked AMD over NVIDIA last year then. I would get so much more love. Oh my goodness. I should have legit picked AMD over NVIDIA. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of you guys like NVIDIA, but AMD feels like you guys are ready to defend it with your soul. Energy Secretary Wright, the U.S. is going to take more steps in keeping gasoline prices down. He said that yesterday as well, so hopefully we see those prices continue to go down. AMD 60-40. Decent split, 60-40. They partnered with the French government today. That's why they're getting a pump, I think. That's the best reason I have. But also, maybe it was time. I mean, if Intel's freaking pumping, trying to match AMD's market cap, maybe AMD's got to run away from it. AMD is a pity play. Okay, that's not true. That you cannot say AMD's just pity to NVIDIA. First of all, people are going to find where you live and send you bad letters. But second of all, no, I wouldn't say it's, look, it's obviously second to NVIDIA in terms of revenue growth, all that stuff, but it has its own way of how they've attacked the data center market. And Lisa Sue's a rock star, right? I mean, what's the performance? NVIDIA's obviously, I think, outperformed over the past few years. So over the past year, NVIDIA's up 90%. AMD is up 200. Over the past 5 years, it's up 229. NVIDIA's up 1,000. Okay, so the past year, AMD's been a better bet. Past 5 years, NVIDIA's been the better bet. But both still massive. SPY went green. Okay. SPY went green. So I have a new clip. I'm only going to use this when it really matters, but a lot of you guys didn't see this clip, so I'm going to share it right now. Shout out to Patrick, who got me this clip yesterday. Just because the SPY went green means what you're about to hear is not what I feel yet, because we actually got to hold up with that green, but can't help but feel a little something when we see the SPY get 700 again intraday. This is how I feel. I think that's bullish. I think that's bullish. I will not misuse that, okay? When it matters, we will play that clip. We're not going to do it every time we get a little green candle. But when we get a really good one, we will get the falsetto. I think that's bullish clip.
and we will use it. We will be diligent about it. We will be very diligent about that. That's a good one. I don't want to, I don't want to, sometimes you don't listen to good music. You can't overplay good music, and that falsetto, it's got to be like once in a while. It can't be every day. But if we keep pumping, then it might have to be every day. AMD, baby, 272. Lisa Sue must be having a fun morning right here. It must be so crazy to be an executive and you have like 100 million shares and the stock's up $10. Like, oh, I'm up $1 billion. Cool. Like, it's just like, it must be wild. But that's what she's up right here. Oracle 175, NVIDIA 198, Salesforce 180. D-Wave back up 4%. That's green. AMD is just a poor man's NVIDIA. See, some of you guys genuinely believe that. And I don't know. I would disagree with that. But there is that debate. I just think the bulls have a lot more people defending that it is not just the poor man's NVIDIA. That is much, much more sophisticated than that. I mean, the deal they have with Meta, OpenAI. Now, granted, AMD did have to give up 10% of their company to get big revenue commitments. But yeah, like they don't have, the monopoly that NVIDIA has on that IP. So like, that's just more of a business move, in my opinion, than necessarily super bearish. Rocket Lab, are we still pulling through here? 81. Wow, dude. I don't know what they did to get a 10% day. I mean, I'm happy about it, but I don't know what happened here for this one to pump this hard, but hasn't seen 80 in 2 months. So it's nice to see it finally get back above these levels. Shout out to Erwin. I know he should be happy here. He is pretty much all in on Mr. Rocket Lab. Grabs at 405, Poet 732, Salesforce at 180. Okay, I think that is it for us today, guys. I don't think there's anything too crazy that we have to keep going through. I mean, hopefully we get the V by the end of the day, but outside of that, I don't see massive headlines. We're probably taking a breather, which is okay. Some of these stocks not taking a breather, like a Rocket Lab or an AMD or an Oracle, Google flipping green again. But by the end of the day, we'll have Chris on for Macro Thursday today. We'll also have Netflix earnings. So we're not going to listen to the call because the Netflix call is really boring, but we will have the call, or we will have the numbers probably at 4:05. Then we'll have Chris on at like 4:30 or 4:25. And do we have anything else today besides Netflix? No, that's it. It's just Netflix. Okay, so we'll be back on the close. We'll see what we got for Netflix. Most of you guys think it'll pump. I hope it pumps just because it'll be fun. It's a top 10 holding on Robinhood. Retail would love for it to pump. And we'll keep going from there. U.S. Trade Representative Greer to testify at Senate Finance hearing on April 23rd. Warsh is also going to start testifying soon as well. So we're going to get a lot more of these people come in. NVIDIA, hopefully we can see 200 again with AMD. But even if we are here, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It's a good day, at least for some of these stocks, and it's been a good week. And if we just close kind of flat today, I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. Just the bleeding that has stopped and the potential end to this war is what it seems like the street cares about the most. All right, word of the day, which should be patrol, which I'm still going to call it patrol. I don't care what it's patrol. Like petrol. No, it's patrol. But you guys were right, but it's okay because that's what we're going to keep saying. Desultory. Lacking a clear plan, purpose, or direction. Desultory trading, random entries with no system, almost ends the same way. Desultory. I feel like I'm saying this one wrong. I feel like I'm stressing the U a little bit too much. Desultory.
Desultory.
Okay, I was stressing the O a little bit too much. Desultory.
That's what we got. That is your word of the day. We'll be back on Thursday. Also, I missed the daily recap yesterday, dude. I did the market close, then we did the thread guy stream, which was awesome. That was super fun for those that showed up to that stream. His community is great, super cool, and it was very fun being there. And then I had a meeting that lasted 2 hours, and it was like 9 o'clock, and I was like, okay, we can't do the daily recap. So unfortunately, we missed yesterday. We'll try to do it again today. So we'll have 3 out of 4 days. We'll get to 4 out of 4 days eventually. But the daily recap yesterday was we pumped. We pumped hard. But hopefully we can continue keeping that momentum going. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I will see you guys on the market close for Netflix earnings, and we'll keep going from there. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.